we've got, so I made some notes here, and I think that's even backwards, but the at-risk student learning, for instance, we've got that at,
Can you help me what page you're talking
no,
about?
I was just making notes.
Well, I'll say, for the board meeting, if you want to, obviously, we're not we're in great shape significantly, so if there's anything you specifically you want to ask, I can email to me, and I can send out.
Well, I mean,
information to the
like,
board.
teacher salary increase goes from, you've got 30, this is under category 3550, okay? So it goes from 3702 to 2222.
So you're gonna have to explain what page you're on.
I think she's on page 6.
Page 5 of 15, that's.
That's
Wait,
where it
so
starts.
that's the revenue side.
6 to 15.
Okay.
So, Shirley, I think, like, for instance, it says teacher salary
Right.
increase, and you see 178%.
Right.
Remember that in the income side, this is the revenue
This is the
side,
revenue side.
we're getting more money than we initially budgeted. And so,
Mhm.
that number, the 178 and below that 292, which is a relatively, misnomer, because we got
Okay.
$607 versus 399 or something there. So
Right.
what you're seeing there, any percentage above is a good
Marilyn, is
thing,
that you?
Mhm.
because we got more money. And if you're going down below,
And the
Okay,
at-risk,
yeah,
at-risk
I was just
learning,
about ready to
we were
call it to
really
see if
planning
you
on,
got it.
again, not planning on getting that money, so we did get money that we weren't budgeting
Great.
for.
We're
Okay.
limited.
That, a lot of that is, or when we budgeted the salary increase, we didn't know what the state was gonna give us, so we based it based on what we had the prior year.
Okay.
And we were able to have some increases on that, so,
Mhm.
and again, like Dr. Gott said, 292 sounds great, but it's $208, so it's not a big number.
Okay, so the same thing would apply for, like, under other expenses.
These are revenues, so if you wanna go to expenses,
Page 7.
okay.
So maybe that's my confusion then.
Sure.
You've got it on the revenue side, and I'm looking at it
As an
as,
expense.
as an expense,
Sure, no, that
yeah,
makes sense, okay.
okay.
Again, I mean, if you've got questions, I have no problems, I just, sometimes this is hard to go through,
Right,
and if you're your individual.
so where did we start with the, expenses? Okay, on page 9 or 15 starts with expenses?
Well, there's a number of different expenses, because some of them are year-to-date, month-to-date.
Right.
So it depends on which expenses you're talking about.
Well, I don't know, it just doesn't seem like it ought to be this difficult to read to me.
Well, the most important page to me, that I would, actually, all I look at, not all, but in case I've got any questions, but it starts at 9, and that is the,
Mhm.
that's our, year-to-date, compared to year-to-date budget.
Right.
Year-to-date actual to year-to-date budget.
Mhm.
So that's, if I've got questions or I'm worried about something, I'll go back up to the monthly, but really, that's the one I concern myself with the most. So that's probably a good place to start, unless you've got questions elsewhere.
Okay, so look at line, I don't know which line it is, 35, 38, at-risk student learning. So you're telling me that, $11,018,
Right.
that's what we had expected to get?
No, we expected to get to 0.
Okay, so we got 11,000,
Exactly.
okay.
Yeah.
Did we spend it?
Did we, well, yeah, we spent it, that's usually typically if we've applied for a grant, we've applied for money to be used for a special program.
Okay, so we've spent that money. So and it's showing in the over budget side because we didn't expect to get it at all.
Right.
Okay, okay, thank
Sure.
you.
Well, that's
That's good, that works.
I think, any other questions?
No, I'm good.
I think
Standard P&L.
I think there was the, standard report, the cost was put under legal expenses. There was 4,500 classified as that.
Probably was, yeah,
Yeah.
that was what put us over on our legal, that puts us over budget too.
That,
We should actually, well, I'll talk to them about it, because really what they should have done is just put it below the line. But, they've got a new governmental accounting, and it gets a little funky with what they have to do. Cause actually that cost should be, honestly, should be put on the balance sheet and then amortized for the life of the bond, but.
And I think some expenses for the ribbon cutting were put under board expenses that really, we decided we were putting under marketing
Marketing.
expenses. So, got a list of those, we can transfer those.
Sure.
And then I think, the loan that we paid back, needed, it's not a board loan, it was a loan to the school. The $3,000 that they paid back, my mom.
Right.
Wasn't a board expense, it was a school expense for operations. I don't think that should be put on the board, I don't believe, is that correct?
Yeah, cause I think the problem is that they wrote off the loan, I think it was never for accounting, whoever was doing the accounting department before, did not classify it correctly in the past. And so therefore, there's no loan to write off against, there should be a loan on the balance sheet to have written that off against. So it's gonna have to flow through to the, accounting, the income statement somewhere. So we'll have to figure out a way to do that. Because that's where it should have been, was to offset a loan or pay off the loan. But the loan doesn't exist on a balance sheet, because how it flowed through our income statement incorrectly 5 years ago when it happened.
So you can just make an adjustment before end of year?
We'll have to make an
correct
adjustment,
it.
we'll have to flush it through the income statement, unfortunately, because it will be a loss.
It'll look like a loss, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because it was never put in the budget to start with, as an expense, as.
Well, it was, what happened was it wasn't treated as a loan on the balance sheet. Somehow, when it was done, and that was what we were trying to go through, it happened before Melissa and I were here, so we were trying to figure out, unravel that, and it was just a mess, so. Somehow they just floated through the income statement, so instead of putting it on the balance.
Treated it as a gift, probably, or something.
Probably happened, and so then we're gonna have to show it as an expense this year. Thankfully, it's not that big of a number.
Well, what they're talking about is we got 2 loans from my mom back in the first year. One was the loan that was handled in the house, and then the next, we still need more money, we went back and got $5,000 additional dollars from her, and we just recently paid that back. Okay. Okay. Alright.
So
Any
we're in
other-
good shape. Yep, sorry, we're in good shape.
Any motion? Well,
We're not $18 million in the budget. so that's-
Marilyn on the phone,
is
Yeah,
anybody on the
she
phone?
is.
so she was,
Who's on the phone?
Marilyn, Marilyn, can you hear us talking at all?
Nope,
Oh.
pretty much, it's just a bunch of mumble. But, we see the orange barrel, so we're closed. I should be there shortly.
Great, alright, super, sorry about that, our phone doesn't reach over well. Okay,
Okay, thanks. I'll be there shortly.
okay, then I propose we wait till she gets in here to have the official vote so she can be in
same
here.
thing on minutes.
Yeah. Do you want,
Traffic was a nightmare.
that's every day,
No, this was worse tonight than it had been in the past.
really? Well, it's hard to imagine.
Took me an hour and 50 minutes as opposed to an hour and 20 minutes.
No.
Crazy.
Well, you wanna go ahead and start talking about the budget committee report, and then we can circle back for all the other,
Sure. We had, Dr. Gott and I had a good couple of conversations about the budget, just to get it all ready to go. And student counts and, projected revenues and such, and then looking back and seeing, trying to make some adjustments based on the budget that I had originally done with our 5-year projection. And obviously, there were some swings and misses when we were doing some swags on this, when we didn't really know what the expenses were gonna be when we got here. I think we made some good adjustments, so we definitely adjusted for the computer labs. We adjusted for the Jan Pro coming in, the janitorial. We did our best job on budgeting, or adjusting for electric. Hopefully that won't go too out of whack, and so basically, did that. Also discussed the salaries, and the teachers that are gonna be required keeping now that we're going to be doing 2 classes of 96 in the 6th and 7th grade, teachers that would be required to, so personnel changes. And so, based on that, we were able to put together a budget that put us right in line, pretty close in line with what we have for our bond requirements. Our bond budget for 2017 is $690,000 of profit or surplus, I should say. We were able to get it to $695,000. So that was a pretty good first couple swings at it. And then we met with the budget committee to discuss what they saw as the budget and their thoughts and such. And so we actually made a couple of adjustments to it, to the budget and with their opinion, their thoughts. And so we changed some things around, not significant, but probably moved about $25,000, $30,000, different buckets in and out. So I feel between the time that Dr. Notcott and I have been able to do this and then also working with the budget committee, we've got a pretty good budget to present to the board for your review and approval. So, at this point in time, usually what we do is just sort of if there's any general questions, and then we can go through it Tuesday after next to have a really more in-depth conversations. It'd be great to get questions and thoughts prior to, because I think the more questions I can answer prior to and have some thought to it would be better. But then we'd like to be able to either approve it at the end of that meeting, or then possibly at the board meeting in April. Really would like to try to work on trying to get it done by March, because then it gives Dr. Gatt's got a budget he can work with, and he can start taking, putting it into action, especially for hiring and such. So that's where we are now. I can go through the sort of the makeup of it now if we like, or we can do whatever you'd like to do.
Since we got time,
Yeah,
we're waiting.
questions? I do hope that, why don't you go ahead?
No, since we've got time and we're waiting, why don't would you mind going through the,
Sure.
on the expense side? I mean, the revenue is pretty cut and dry. Obviously, we want the money, we hope it comes in. On the expense side, the changes, just go through the changes,
Well, the biggest change.
suggested changes.
Well, the biggest changes probably is, just, the teachers, adding the teachers that we're looking at adding.
So what line would that be on?
It's in a mixture of high school and, elementary, wages. And then obviously
So there's just no way we can follow it,
well, there's a
specifically.
wage page, wage assumption page, and that gives you all the detail
Okay.
of what it is. And then that number rolls actually right up through the elementary, high school, and then administrative. Elementary and high school go directly into to the number that's on the budget. Administrative is sort of broken up because we have counseling in different areas and learning disability and such. But the wage section would probably be the best place to go, and then we can see where it rolls over to the budget.
But any major changes in here that,
Well, what
You
we
would tell us about?
proposed, and I'll let Dr. Gott anytime I make an incorrect assumption, make sure we're all on the same page. But what we looked at was having three, without a new elementary, another 96 students in the 6th grade, is 3 teachers, language arts teacher, ELA, and computer science. And then there was a little bit of salary adjustments based on people that were going to leave and who we're going to be bringing in. And then what we're doing this year is the early option class we sort of just absorbed this year, and this year we wanted to put it in the budget so we didn't get so that can be reflected there. Of course, now the early option class is parents are bringing in the revenue for that too, so it offsets some of the expense. And Dr. Goddard actually also requested that we add 1 more administrative person, and also like we did last year, we look, proposing a 2.5%, raise sort of across the board, which is not exactly, everybody gets 2.5, but can be discretionary.
So that's teachers and staff?
Yes, teachers and staff. And then also a $25,000 step up, to be used to sort of try to get those more equal to what the Charleston School District, pays different teachers in the different subject lines. So those are the really the 5 different changes as well, I should say, 6.
So under psychological services, is that a teacher or, cause that's like from 29.5 to 60?
Yeah.
No, cause that was, actually what happened is, Corrigan went from being a salaried employee to actually being completely off salary and being put on to and just being paid as a consultant. And so her salary was included in other areas, so
Oh.
it's gonna be.
So it's a shift.
Mhm. So that's her, and then, and the $12,000 for the psychological tests. Is that, so, and that's grown, and we didn't have the 12,000, we didn't do as much.
We're gonna see an increase of about 35% in our special ed kids coming in. 35%, which is 7 students, but at the same time, it increases the expense to that amount.
So that's the speech and hearing increase as well?
Mhm. So, yeah, so that was the the wages are usually, like I said, wages typically plus the electric, the janitorial and such make up about 80% of what we're talking about.
Just the utilities, just for you all to be aware, is that, it's a beautiful building, we're 3 times bigger than we were, got 6.5 acres of grass out there at the moment that we're gonna be dealt with. So, we're gonna see our cleaning is gonna basically go from 2,000 to 5,500 next year. And then that's having someone here during the day as well. And then, today, the electric bill for the outside lights, all the parking lights, so on, it's $1,000 a month, alone. And then that's another 2,000 or so, maybe a little bit more for the internal working. So we're getting, the utility bills are starting to roll in now, a month and a half in, and we're kind of getting this awakening here.
Do they stay up to the outside lights? Cause they are expensive to keep on. Do they
Yeah,
stay
they're
on all
on
the
a
time?
timer and they're on a light sensor of some sort. And, so they're LED, so they're very efficient, but there's a
Right.
lot of them out there. And it's nice when you're going out at night, you feel
Yeah.
safe, protects the building well, but it's cost, I guess.
So we've got a security system here as well.
Yes,
So definitely.
the only thing we don't have at the moment is cameras, but we haven't seen the need for that yet, but that's something to think about down the road.
Well, it would be, helpful, I know that, McKitty can get us, percentage comparisons with other charter schools, so we could look at where our expenses are compared to others. But it's a touchstone, there's always
Sure.
unique aspects of every school, but I think that would be helpful for us as we look, so we can see where our salary expense compared to others, or all down the line of the budget. And also, if, do we have any comparison salary data, make sure that
Yeah.
that would be helpful too.
In terms of the local area or in terms of other charter schools? I don't have anything about other charter schools, but, relative to, Charleston and Dorchester, we're about anywhere from 5 to 10% below what they're paying. We're trying to adjust that, and in some cases, we're close, and then our veteran teachers came in at a lower salary, and in some cases, they're literally being paid $20,000 less than what they would make in Charleston County. So,
Well, if you could bring that data with us, so when we go through the budget workshop,
Sure.
then we can see it. And I know we were catching up some people that we've been talking
right,
about for
and that's
several years.
where that 25,000
Yeah.
will enable me to
Yeah.
bridge some of those gaps.
Yeah, and I know that we had, a salary structure for the school too, that we worked up a salary policy back several years ago. So if you could, we could have that.
The Bureau of Labor Statistics does regional data for pay.
Okay.
That's a easy
Trade analysis.
internet look.
So the only other question I have is substitutes, salaries. So they go, it looks like it fluctuates, you know, 1 year we're at 14,000, the next we're at 32. Last year we're at 10 and now we're moving it to 32, so what's
Yeah, if you
going
look
on
at
with
the
that?
substitute salary in high school, we were breaking up in between high school and elementary school, and we said, you know what, it just makes more sense to just put it all
Together,
in one. So if
Got
you
it.
look down in that
Got it.
budget, we were at 23.5. So we really just went up to 32. So again, it's definitely an increase. But I think we're trying to capture being more realistic on what that is, because it sort of just gets dumped in the areas that we need to. So we're trying to break it out to see really what that expense is gonna be. So I think we've been under budget on that.
Marketing and advertising, so do we have, like this, I'm sorry, I'm going back now.
Sure.
Like, I'm just asking about marketing now. I was on, just the budget, 2017, is it just one page? It's just one page.
Yep. And the
It was just one
marketing-
attachment.
Yes, the marketing and advertising that we're taking down, we're looking at trying to take that down to $2,000.
Yeah, cause we haven't spent it, is that the deal?
We didn't spend the 12, well, I
Right.
shouldn't say, the 12,500 that we budgeted last year, we did as sort of just part of the unveiling, so to speak. But we didn't do anything to, we didn't bring do anything to bring students here, so to speak.
Maybe we should,
Yeah, I know David's.
Oh, he's working on that?
committee,
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
he's,
yeah, we might not wanna take it down,
Well, what we did
Not
is,
yet.
what we thought was that one of the things that came out of it, I think one of the best things that came out of the meeting was, well, let's put in $20,000 for the athletic program, because we've got, and that's not even gonna cover it. But, you know, as we get to be a high school, we need to have an athletic program. And, I'm sorry, you brought it up,
Mr. Rand?
Mr. N brought up, he said, well, that's great for athletics, but what about academic, extracurricular programs and such, and it was a good point.
it's always the fight.
Right, so, you know, again, that was just the budget committee's suggestion, I thought it was a good idea. Would we rather be marketing, we've obviously got a lot of students, everyone is very excited about the school. It seemed like that money would be better spent to try to help out the academic, extracurricular programs. So we sort of created that line item, for that situation. But again, this is what the budget committee put together, and, we can definitely talk about that and make any adjustments we feel necessary.
Well, it's a sports program, it's not marketing.
No, it's a
No,
two-different-
it's a shift. It was
Well,
just a shift.
there's no money in the sports program that goes to marketing. They wear uniforms, of course.
Right.
They're present.
I'm
There's
sorry,
just
I'm
that-
sorry, I didn't,
Yeah.
what I said was we had put $21,000 into the athletics,
Right.
and somebody said, well, we should be doing the same thing with academics.
Right.
And so what we decided was to make a better decision, was to move the money out of the marketing and advertising, we had budgeted for 10,000, and move it into this academic extracurricular program.
For like
Really
entry
not moving
fees and
into-
travel.
yeah, not anything to do with athletics at all.
Is there a plan to do the same routine next year for, robotics and?
That's what, that
obviously
10,800 or something.
10,800, yeah.
And that's to go toward some of that. We do, for the most part, we've been able to help fund all of the groups that have asked for money, you know, whether it's the band right now is going to, solo and ensemble, we got the Odyssey of the Mind, this coming weekend. So we cover that internally through the discretionary funds. But by putting some directly to it in the regular budget, in essence, we're validating those programs as we are the same with athletic.
And do please note again, when we've done this budget in the past, we've always said, what is the money we can really count on for sure? We don't really count on Boeing giving us $3 million and then only give us $850,000, so.
Can everybody come to the budget committee meeting that is
29th?
gonna, yeah. 2 weeks from today,
Same time?
yeah.
Yeah, but it's gonna be downtown in my office.
It is spring break, so there's not gonna be anybody here, so if you guys wanna meet anyplace else, I'm fine.
Oh, that's right, in the spring.
I'll be, Fort Worth.
Oh, well, you guys wanna look at a few other dates then, if it's, you gonna be around on spring break, you want me to
I'm
send?
going to be in and out, my son's getting married the following weekend,
Oh,
nice.
April the 8th, so I'm gonna be doing a bunch of honeydews at the house.
Yeah. Well, we could, make it a different week then, so I'll break into. Well, how about I'll send out another email and break down everybody's availability for that, if we have to.
I'm good any night, anytime except
Except
Wednesday
Wednesday?
nights.
Yeah,
I go to
Wednesdays
church
are
Wednesday
bad.
nights, and I will always do that.
I know.
And I do water volleyball on Wednesday.
Wow.
There you go.
Okay, well, we'll send out a few, dates and see what comes back, the
That's why it's good.
I would like to try, I'm out the following week,
the
so,
week of the 4th.
yeah, yes. But I don't wanna push it too far, just because I wanna get it approved, so we can start, have a working budget that Dr. Grant can start working on.
I would like to get it out of the way before the end of the month
Mhm.
as well. Because that way you know what you got going in from.
Right.
Well,
Well, this is for 2017, right?
Yes.
yeah, and it starts July, so
July 1st.
we still got a little wiggle room.
We
before
always
then.
try to get it done before, or right at the April board meeting, so if we can do it a little bit earlier, that'd be great.
Okay, well, we'll do the best and get everybody.
And I am actually still looking for someone to take, my place. Unfortunately, the person we had picked for it, had a conflict, so I would like to try to talk to, have somebody in place, soon, just so I can start going over everything instead of just going, October 1st, here you go, or whatever, I can't remember. October 15th.
And,
Are you talking about a board member?
Well, to take the treasurer or the finance.
Right, but a board member that would do that, is that what you're saying?
I would, yes,
Yeah.
because that's one of the officers is a secretary, treasurer, and a president.
So do we have anybody
um,
who's willing to do that?
Melissa will train you, and she does all the financials, so,
It's probably good to have somebody that has a little bit, at least has some of an accounting background. It's been very, very, very helpful. And again, I think we got through a lot of different things, and through the bond, but, as I keep telling, we're gonna grow, and there's gonna be some other issues that'll come about that I think accounting background is gonna be beneficial.
all right.
Do we wanna approve the January budget now that we have a
You need the financial report? Yeah.
financial report?
Make a motion, we approve the January financials?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All in favor, signal saying aye. Great. All right, and then we have the, board minutes from January 19th, February 8th, and February 16th. Hey, Frank, we're,
Fun, everybody, you still meeting?
yeah,
It's over.
Now that
Just
the party's
going
been started, so.
we've gone over this, we just approved the January financial statement, and Rob gave us a preview of the budget committee. We're gonna send out an email to try to fix a date for that. And, you have the budget stuff Rob sent out last night to review. And we're just now going back to the,
Do you need to do
minutes.
these individually?
Yeah, I guess we start with the January 19th minutes.
Move for approval.
Right, and he said, all approval, say aye.
Wait a minute.
Any opposed? Oh,
There was just one minor,
Okay.
that's what I was looking for. I mean, it's so minor, it's,
okay.
Mr. Kenmore had made a motion, it needs to be added in there.
Where's that? Oh, okay,
Yeah, there's
all
there's
right.
actually a couple of little, technical.
So I usually
Changes,
give
yeah.
those straight to Jean and we don't even,
Rob's
Can I
name
take
is,
it?
and one of them
Okay.
is Rob Field, so thinking somebody's gonna go back through those and
Alright.
catch that stuff.
Alright. Any other? Okay,
I mean, these were a boatload of
yeah.
some.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know, I reviewed them this afternoon.
So, vote on a signal saying aye for January 19th, okay, February 8th minutes,
Move for approval?
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
And the last one's on 2/16.
Move for approval?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. All right, so the next, item, we jump back down to academic excellence report with our Ken Ryan.
We'll have our first open meeting on April 5th. And we're gonna be on a, 2 weeks ahead of the board meeting, and we'll meet monthly first week. Did we say Tuesday, Tim? Is that right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, Tuesday. And that'll be, 4 o'clock
And if that works.
to 4:15, depending on Victoria's coming over for Mount Pleasant, some other people are coming from outside too. So we'll get rolling on that.
But you've been having meetings, getting ready for it?
We
Getting started.
organize, we
Yeah,
haven't had
organize.
a meeting to do anything, to report back anything yet.
Okay. All right, and you'll report at our next meeting how that went then? Okay, great,
See you too, once we have a meeting.
great.
You didn't need 5 minutes.
Super.
I yield back to balance.
Oh, wow. You're already doing a great job. Okay, growth analysis committee. Now we've had some discussion that we may need to establish a committee to look at what, we should do for our next steps and some planning on that, whether we need to, at any aspect. We can go down to K through 5, we can have, additional, increase here on this site, and we've already reached out to the base about the additional 15 acres, and of course, the amendment passed the NDAA for us to be able to get land without it being a fair market value, so, be a lot of work and analysis, but, like we open up the floor for discussion.
How hard is it going to be to change the charter for 504?
For the,
The number of students.
oh, well, I talked to the district about that, and they would give us flexibility to go up some in that number. But, you know, capacity here from the building is about 540.
Actually, when we did the analysis, 540 is my gap I would like to see. But technically, we could put over 600 in this building, but
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
not what we're.
Yeah, I think you're right at that 540, yeah. So, to add grades or, to increase beyond that, you know, we have to go through a similar process as we did before when we started school, so it's not that bad.
Not that I would suggest doing this, but, I'm sure we cannot put any sort of mobile units on the, I'm just throwing it out there.
I haven't seen it, I'd have to look at our lease for that if we're allowed to do that, but I think that would be a quality issue, wouldn't you?
Well, and I think again, there are multiple steps, and like you said, when the committee can think through it, do we want to grow this campus? Do we want to look at other campuses? You know, those are different options. I know the district is very excited about us replicating the other charter schools in the state. Green Academy is, I forget now, we're Rock Hill maybe. And they're expanding, and they're gonna open up next year a school in Columbia as well. Our model is received very well at the moment, and so we've got that choice. So, I had a conversation with Steve Hubert the other day, as what timetables, if we could put up to 12 rooms on this building. You go out each wing and you can add 3 rooms. And that's doable, and it can be done quickly, but at same time, do we want then, when you add 12, you're adding, you know, roughly, another 300 students, is that right? 12 times 24, 25, somewhere in that range. Do we want that to happen in this building? And I don't think it's really the best choice in terms of cramming, literally, when you think about it, 800 people into one building. If we get the land behind and we had to build another building, then we're looking at the potential to have, maybe a middle school and a high school. And that's doable. And I know there's been discussion about, do we want to add an elementary school? But I think in terms of meeting the needs the most, in essence, and I'll talk about it more in lottery numbers, but we literally could open up 2 sites right now, anywhere in the city of Charleston or surrounding area, and be fully functional right now, if we had to have the space or the building to do it.
But then you get a nightmare of 2 disassociated properties trying to manage both. It adds an extra dimension
Yeah,
to logistics.
right.
I mean, I think the challenge we're gonna have, and we've created ourselves, and I pushed for it, I was for it, but I think next year, we're gonna probably add another 96 in the 6th grade. I'm not saying we are, but I'm just, that assumption. So then you're gonna have, once that first 8th grade hits 96 8th graders, hit 9th grade, are we then gonna say, okay, now we're gonna have to lose 24 of you? And including the siblings and all that kind of good stuff. So I think we're gonna have to be prepared for that to happen. And if we're gonna do that, then I think my thought is that if we're going to ask for a charter, we're gonna ask for a 504 move up, we may need to take into consideration that number may need to be higher than just the capacity of this building, so we don't go through this process
Have to do it
again.
over,
Right.
I agree.
Right. But I mean, I think that's 2 years off, but I mean, 2 years are gonna get here before we know it.
The other thing to think about when you're talking about, adding rooms onto the existing rooms is, do the other support areas support adding another 300 students?
Right.
And
And presently, they would, would overwhelm the bathrooms, it would,
Yeah.
take
Yeah.
away the, gym capacity to some degree, and then,
Or you'd have to add that would have to be a part of the addition.
yeah.
You're right,
Bathrooms.
you're right.
So the logical approach then would be to have another building, if you get another building, and now you have a middle and a high.
I know buildings ring true, but what if we were a distributed school? What if PSA had a branch at North Charleston High School? What if PSA had a branch down the peninsula or something like that?
But just what I said a while ago, Ken, from a
That
business
creates
perspective,
inefficiency.
it's an infrastructure issue, and it becomes a logistical nightmare of trying to manage disassociated sites.
Jack, you're in the Navy, manage
Yeah.
squadrons on an aircraft
No,
carrier
no,
with distributed
no,
ships,
no,
and
no,
distributed
this is not
control.
aircraft
And you're both wearing green.
We manage assets worldwide, come on.
And you both must be Irish, that's all I.
Yeah, I know, this one, all right, that's my green shirt.
Well, it's a huge issue that we need to scope out, and there's gonna be a lot of thought and input from the community, not only internally, but.
So are we getting someone to help us with this
Well,
analysis?
I think that we should first start a board committee to start determining those things, and I'd like to ask Shirley to chair that up with us, for us, and anyone who would like from the board that,
I have to work on it.
yeah.
I'd like
I
to
think
have
I asked for this a couple of meetings ago, where we do something and I think they're looking forward.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
so,
do you wanna join us?
Oh, of course.
look, anybody who wants to join, let Shirley know,
Yeah,
and,
the more the merrier.
yeah.
Lots of different perspectives, definitely.
What's the forcing function? Like, cause we know 12, 13 charter schools are on the table to pop up all over the state here. Though we are the gifted, talented, and the first, doesn't mean we can't be a second or third. So my question is, what's driving us to grow? Is it just an internal desire that we wanna get as big as we wanna get to meet the waiting list need?
Is it the applications that we're?
Well, that's what I'm getting ready to share with you here in just a second, is that as of yesterday, there are 817 people who have applied to be here at the school. That's above and beyond the 420
That we have.
people that we have now.
Yeah, but you know, those numbers, we've always had a lot of applications and they have grown over the years. People don't always
Not
come and
always.
apply, you know, they apply to multiple schools, so
Right.
those waiting list numbers, but I think it,
I appreciate your
Yeah,
question.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that we do need to ponder, and we need to always have that sort of vision, this is what why we're doing this and what we want to get to.
Right.
So, it's a very valid question, I think.
Well, you already have, you got Orange Grove's expanding, and you've got the brand new charter school going on Mount Pleasant that opens up this coming September.
That's not gonna open, by the way.
You know, whatever, it's on the books to do it.
So your point is,
We deal with what we have, which we have a surplus,
Yeah.
and if we offer something, then that surplus is probably gonna favor it here.
If you build it, they will come.
Yeah,
I see.
well, it goes back to our mission statement.
yeah, to provide opportunities for education.
And we're,
You know,
Yeah, and I think that's important, because I think
Yeah.
that's what we need to vote on. That if
Exactly.
we see that our mission statement is then to grab every candidate that we can see, we should actually, you know, say, okay, now this is what's driving us, and then we can organize around that.
well, this group may look at it and come back and say, we recommend we don't grow, or we wait for 5 more years, you know, that'll be,
Yeah, no,
but you'll have.
Yeah, but I was just thinking that you need that kind of.
Well, I think
star on the
anything
horizon
that we do, we have to give this place some time, because we're new, and granted, you know, we just simply relocated, but we've got the students who are applying, parents who are applying, but sometimes I worry about that, because I think there are parents who apply, just like at college, they apply to multiple places to see where they're gonna get accepted. So we've always got that issue to think about, but you were saying something about the, academic magnet school. They've got lots of applicants that they can't take them all either, so there's obviously a need. You know, let's face it, guys, public education in this area, you know, parents would love another, choice.
Well, yeah.
They'd love another choice.
But I think we're seeing real growth too, I mean, we're not just
Yeah.
seeing growth in applications,
oh,
we're seeing growth,
true.
60 students last year to this year.
Yeah.
And I think that percentage is continuing to grow.
Yeah,
So-
we'll go.
And
last
that's
year,
just
like,
the growth of the area.
Yeah.
Absolutely, it's
And I think we
gonna
have,
be tremendous.
and we have to make sure that, you know, the good thing is that we've seen the gifted and talented are also a higher percentage than they've been in the past too. So we've been true to our statement. I think we've gotta watch that and make sure that that doesn't start getting affected by just bringing in more and more students.
Oh,
If
definitely,
that's
yeah.
that's the
a
goal.
little concern.
That's
And
huge.
That's my question. So what would you guess, Tim, out of the 400? You have 400 now, you have 400 more. I mean, that's a huge gap. But if the need is just for a bunch of parents who don't want their son or daughter in a local public school, that's not the mission of this school. That's those magnets and those other schools around here. So of the 400, in your experience, what would you guess would be the actual number of gifted and talented?
Well, with this particular group right now, 415, I think, or something at the moment, it's over 70% that have been identified as gifted and talented. And this, the last 2 or 3 young grades, the 6th grade is rolled up, that number has increased as a percentage of each of those classes. So and from a mathematical standpoint, that was a random lottery that pulled that number out of the fairly substantial group. So the sampling part of it shows that probably that waiting list is 50, 60, 70% gifted and talented as well.
So that would be our real growth number.
Yeah. And one of the things that we're experiencing now, and we're going to suffer a few losses for it, is transportation. Just, you all felt it tonight, you know, getting here in the morning and picking them up in the afternoon is, we're going to lose the Mount Pleasant, the Daniel Island folks, maybe, but the Mount Pleasant folks on the other side of that. And right now, James Island and Johns Island and down in West Ashley, the families down there, it's not feasible for them to get here. So we were, you know, at the STEM festival a couple weeks ago, and I was talking with the families from the Cooper School, I think is over on Johns Island, and they're hungry for something like this, but they just can't get their kids here. So, and I understand Jack's point that logistically it changes a lot, but I think the best way to meet the needs of the students is to have satellite locations so that more people can get to a school through transportation.
But it is our mission to create satellites and become the utopia that all for everybody? Or is it our mission in Stacy's vocabulary of we want to be a model and we create and replicate other schools with their own infrastructure and stuff and let them run and we help them? Would that not be the better approach if that's what we want?
That's an interesting aspect.
That might be task one.
I mean, that to me would be more appealing.
So they would just be separate entities that.
They're separate
have a
entities, but we,
parallel
it's sort of
charter.
like what the state board's supposed to be to us. They're supposed to be our overseer and
So
help
what,
us.
but what would we get from it other than, you know?
And then,
That's right. So would we
Consultant
charge
fee.
for that? Yeah, a consultant fee, would we get some revenue for that? That's what I would be asking.
we
You
could
could, but
ask.
I would
We
want,
could
I would
ask.
want I would want to get the feedback that, hey, these guys are really sharp, they helped us, and that's what we need to get to in this world. It is all about us, it's inclusiveness. I see it everywhere I go in education, and we have to do this. I mean, I live with it every weekend almost when I go traveling around the state.
Yeah.
And I get questions, I've had questions from up in Greenville area about helping charter schools starting, and what did we do? Well, guys, come on down, sit down and talk to us, we'd rather help you. That's what it's all about, and we've gotta get to that point. It's gotta get away from the money. I realize money is important.
Yeah.
But we can run our school on what we get.
Yeah.
But we gotta help others
Yeah,
in our community.
like they helped us.
Now I'm off my soapbox.
Okay. Climb on down, Jack. Okay.
Okay, well, when a meeting is set, I wanna invite everyone to attend and we can beat it around some more.
Very exciting. Well, thank you. Okay, principals report.
All
All right.
Pass these around. Before we get into this, couple quick things. The calendar for Charleston schools has been set. And is that something we have to vote on that we're gonna follow?
No, because it's in our charter that we
Yeah,
follow.
yeah. So that, we'll get that rolling then. And there's an interesting thing that's developing, it's kind of, maybe it's, karma in some sense. St. Leo's is going to have to move out of their building. And they would like to explore the possibility of sharing our building at night. And they would pay us to do so. And they only need about 5 classrooms. And they would provide all of the equipment that they have presently, and they can support us in a lot of different ways. So I don't know if that's something, that is a board decision or not, but I just wanna throw it out there as to, they're gonna come and look at the building in the next week or so.
Well, we'd have to have, it'd be a contract, so we'd have to approve the contract. But I would recommend that we do it, because they were so great to us, and maybe give them a price off, because they did the same to us.
Why are they having to move out of the?
Well, where they are presently, they are in, a bank, building over off of Mall Drive. And they're, I guess they're wanting to change the lease on that, and they're thinking, is this really what we wanna do? And so there would be, I think their hours are like 5 to 11. And then, they have, right now, they have a classroom set of equipment that would transfer over to us. They have a whole lab of computers that would transfer over. And they have a pipeline of funds to do other things, so I think.
Do they have students or is it all virtual? Is it all distance
They do
learning?
some night classes, and, but a lot of it is virtual, but they do, they have classes there regularly, but that's not their main focus.
It's a private university.
Yeah, it's through, the diocese, I think.
We do it, but just make sure, because we probably have to look at putting a rider on our insurance.
Yes.
For that.
Yeah, no smoking, all those
Now, do,
No smoking.
Really?
would they be responsible for their, coming up with their own? or-
We'd have to look at it and see, probably, no matter what, we'd have to have something because it's in our building. So we'd have to have something, so that'd be something we need to make sure, it shouldn't be that expensive, but we'd wanna make sure that that gets covered in the contract. And then it gets covered in the payments too.
We joint base have them.
I was gonna say,
They weigh in
yeah,
on it.
yeah, do you?
No, that's our,
I mean, as long as they have access, that would be, they would, just using one separate base access would be the only issue.
Is this St. Leo?
St. Leo.
Well, they service the military as it is.
Yeah, it's a,
It'd be
Well,
nice
that's
for
one of the
them.
primary.
Be close.
got a lot of attention. Which actually, you know, I didn't think about it as, other than just a decision for the school. There's a church that wants to use our building too. And, what I've looked into with the other Charleston County schools is that it's just, you know, we set a fee and they pay and it's not a big deal.
You need to be careful when you start doing that though. Because, all sorts of organizations, then you open it up to all sorts of organizations.
Daughter's wedding reception.
I'm not thinking that, you know, I'm thinking, you know, organizations that we wouldn't really want to have
Sure,
in here.
sure.
And then we get into lawsuit
Yeah, you have
situations.
something.
You let them, not us.
Exactly. I mean,
Well,
If it's education, St. Leo's, it makes sense, but
Yes.
the church and
I know a couple of AAU basketball folks have approached the athletic director about renting the gym,
Sure,
which I would never see as a problem,
Right.
except that the insurance fees or anything
Right.
like that.
So,
Is it different than the church?
church is a different,
Different,
yeah, and it
Yeah,
really
it's not
does get
education.
into a different category. In public schools, we talked about that all the time, and the deal was, you open it up to them, and then every organization that asks, then you've got to really have good reason, like, oh, there's no way, you know, the building's in use, and, you know, it'd really be complicated to turn other organizations down then.
especially other churches that we don't.
I mean, you know, KKK for crying out loud could want to organize a group, and that's just an example, you know, there could be many different ones that you would not want, to happen,
Sure.
so.
well, I guess my question, if AAU or any organization wants to rent rooms at various times, is that something that the board needs to approve each time? Or is that something that I have the latitude to do?
I think if we don't have the contracts are a real, the area that we
Yeah.
have to review and approve. I don't know, maybe, it'd be good to have a process set up so you don't have to,
You don't have to ask.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And a set fee, so that you don't have to worry, or
And there
what's
is-
my charge.
There's a really good model with what Charleston County does. I mean, we've got that, we've looked at it, we've kind of thought through it a little bit.
Why don't you bring us that so we can approve a template that you use in a format and
Okay.
then, and what types of organizations, and then you'll have your set. But with the contract with St. Leo, we'd have to review and approve.
Yeah, that would be a big one.
Yeah, and we also need to keep the building available for joint base, because when they use it, it goes to our in-kind bucket too. So that's
Great.
just something to think about.
And you also need to make sure teachers on board, because not all teachers wanna open up their classrooms to
Right.
anybody else, you know?
Exactly.
They're-
That has been an interesting discussion. Okay, so the lottery results and review of that, if you got a front page and a back page, so if you look at the back page, on January 31st was the end of our, the first round of enrollment. And you'll see that there were 702 total, and you'll see each grade is broken out there on the left.
Where we at? I'm sorry.
Up here,
Oh, okay.
and so the top number, you see siblings of students who already attend PSA was 42 students. You also then see over in the second column, there are second set of columns, the military percentage was 57 total out of that 702. So when we rolled into the lottery, we had 96 slots for sixth grade. But seventh, eighth, and ninth, we only had 5 kids tell us at all grade levels that they weren't returning. Now, some of them may not still, but at that time, so we did not have a lottery for seventh, eighth, and ninth. And then we only had 2 positions that we could select for 10th grade. Based on our prior, commitments that siblings would be given first choice, we filled the slots with them. And that dropped us down from 96 students to, I think we did around 60 in the lottery, because I think we ended up with 14, so it might have been more close to 70 out of the 90-something in the lottery. Once we took the 70 slots that were left in sixth grade and multiplied the 20% and came up with 14 slots for the military families. We had 20, let's see what, I left that on my other note, we had 20-something, 27, I believe, which, maybe here somewhere. We had 27 sixth grade families, or sixth grade students in the sixth grade. So we had a lottery, we chose the 14 names, and then the remaining 13 were placed into the lottery pool. And out of that lottery pool, then 3 more additional military families were selected for a total of 17 students for sixth grade.
Okay, so you had in sixth grade, you had 96 spots, right?
Uh-huh.
And you had how many for siblings?
The total that 28, so 28 siblings for sixth grade only. We had 42 total siblings across all grades.
Well, let's take it grade by grade.
Right, so 28 out of this 96 left us,
So there's
60.
96 minus 28, leaves you at 68.
okay. Multiplying the 20%, and that's where we got our 14.
Well, the 26, I think it's 20% for spaces. So
Total
20,
spaces.
so 96 times 0.2, it should be 19 spaces.
But my interpretation is the spaces that are left.
No, it's 20% per grade.
And we're not doing that on anything else.
But
Well, originally, the siblings get priority.
they don't, they don't. They get priority, but it's not, it's, we haven't given any ranking. The policy is 20% of openings. And we didn't specify, like Wilbur's, email to you.
And it's the
No,
first
same
time we've
one
had this
from-
Yeah,
problem,
and,
so
and it's,
it's a learning
yeah,
experience.
it is, we're having to figure this all out, going through it. Siblings, children of students, faculty and staff and charter, committee members all had the same ranking. They're
Mhm.
all given preference for mission,
Right.
but we never ranked them. And then we added the policy for military set-asides, which states 20% of all openings are for military, children of military. And we hold up to 10 seats per grade till May 31st for all the transferring ones.
Right. If there
So-
were not 10 students who chose those slots.
If, we save it till the 5th,
Right,
May
but
31st.
if we, like 2 years ago, 2 lotteries ago, we only had 6 military families out of those 96 that we brought in. So we had we had less students coming than our 20% allotment. So our decision was that we could hold slots available until June, so that other families who came in would have an option for that. But once we fill that 20% requirement, there are no more slots to hold, because that 20% has already been met for that grade.
Well, I'm not sure I follow what you're saying, I just know that the policy states you take the number, which is 96, times 0.2, is 19.2, so you got 19, so
Right.
19 spaces.
And then you take 96 minus 19, and then the rest, then you.
Yeah,
Right.
and say only 9 kids were in military that took out of those 19.
Right.
You say those 10 seats till May 31st
Right.
for military.
But what I'm saying is the opposite, we filled all those spots, and so there wouldn't be any help for the rest till June.
So you took 19 military kids in 6th grade?
No, what I'm saying is, what I did and chose to do was based on my interpretation, was that whatever slots were left over after the priorities were given to the siblings, and those were the slots that we did the 20% of. That's what we did last year, and that's what we
Last
did
year,
this
you didn't have a set aside, did you?
Yeah,
Well, that's,
but we didn't have enough numbers for that to be of any significance at that time.
well, it's really 20% of the number that you have open. So
Now,
it's,
what does the official policy say? I don't have it with me at the moment.
I sent it to you guys, I'll pull it up.
Here, that's the whole package right here.
Okay.
Okay.
Can you,
Yep, that's the whole, I think that's the whole package.
you wanna read it out loud, Shirley?
To the front, but he wants
Okay.
to-
No, here it is, here, so.
Let's go down.
You wanna pull it up, the policy?
Oh,
Is it, I just wanna
I
read
don't
the
know if I got
policy.
a policy from,
I got, yeah, you do, it's on this, I sent it out to everybody.
well, that was the email that you sent.
Here's a, should be on this one. All right, is the policy of Palmetto Scholars to provide a 20% set aside in the annual enrollment lottery for children of active duty military assigned at Joint Base Charleston in accordance with the South Carolina Military Charter Law. Up to 10 seats will be held per grade until May if the unclaimed military children at the annual lottery date. If unclaimed, they will be released to the general rating list. So that's 20% set aside per
Now
grade.
so that's the point of
And our-
interpretation. 20% set aside of what? It doesn't say.
Well, our first policy that came out was more specific on that, and we have that one too. And it said 20% per grade. And then we added this to hold over for up to 10 seats, up to, so it's 20% of open seats. And in the military charter law that passed, it stated that, the military set aside is not conditional to the limits like it is for the others, the 20% limit. So,
I see exactly what you
Right.
saw here, I mean,
And
it says
the
of the,
lawyer from the district looked at this and said the same thing,
Yeah.
is that based on what we presently say, that, siblings got first priority.
he said it was stated on our website, and we do have a, sibling preference, which we still have,
Right.
but we didn't set a ranking for them.
Right.
And he said our charter document he didn't know what our charter document said, it takes precedence.
Well, our charter document at the moment doesn't say anything.
That's
That-
right, and that's why our policy state, if we wanna change that, we'll have to discuss that and determine that as a board.
Right.
But our policy that we set was for 20% per grade, so any openings, 20%.
That's not what this says, though. This
it
is simply
says
saying
annual
20%.
Yeah, you're right.
That's the,
But I know the intent of the legislation is for 20% of each grade
Right.
to be,
But-
but that, I agree with you,
Yeah.
that's not, you could read this, it's of the annual, lottery.
Right.
Yes, I totally understand where you would get that, but I know that's not the intent.
Well,
And
And
that's-
I
Wilbur said
understand
that's
that
not
may
the
not
intent
be
of
our
it.
intent, so that's why
Yeah.
I think we need
Well, the
to
siblings
make
would
it
still get
our
in.
intent one way
They
or
would
another.
still get in, I mean, because you're setting aside 19.
But in some cases not. In the 6th grade, yes, because there'll be plenty of spaces. We hope, I mean, as we grow, the sibling number could be bigger than the number of slots.
Yeah.
But technically, then the other grades, that's where the real issue is coming. Because if there are only 2 slots available in 9th grade, then who should get those 2 slots?
Well, the military, of course.
Well, I hear you, but, so, that's where it just needs a clarification.
Yeah. I think the legislation says up to 50%,
Right.
doesn't it?
Yeah.
Right.
Here it's, yeah.
Yeah, and it says it's not in competition with any other set aside, so, so we should have, in our first policy, the one that established this, said 20% per grade. So I can send that to everybody too, so you
How do
can
we
see.
fix this?
Yeah, how can we fix that?
Well, there's a couple, one, we should put 20% for each grade to the military, so we need to look at, I don't think we should.
20% of what? So like in ninth grade, if there one
Of
slot.
openings,
Okay.
of openings,
Of openings.
Of
okay.
openings or of total numbers?
total numbers per grade. So
Yeah,
Well,
but
if
that's
there's
what
only
we-
one- Yeah, if there's only one slot, then either one.
Yes.
Right. And that's what we did last year, was that if there were any slots available, but again, we had put all the siblings in first. And then whatever slots were available, we gave 20% at that time. And last year, again, before this one, that, it all worked out, there wasn't any issue. So this is the first time, and there is a philosophy here too, though, that we have to be careful of. And, I mean, I absolutely believe that we are supporting the 20% for military families. But the families that have already been here and have established themselves as part of the school, do they get less consideration because of this other policy?
Well, the
Law
school is on
trumps.
the base,
Law trumps
because of,
policy.
I mean, set aside was a big deal.
Right.
That's right.
That was a big
That's exactly
negotiating
right.
thing, and it was up to 50%.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, y'all, I wasn't here then, but y'all decided 20, so I think that should be honored, I mean,
Yeah.
personally.
I totally agree.
And
Yeah.
again, I'm fine with that, but my interpretation has been that it's 20% of the open slots. And the open slots were those that after the siblings were done.
Now, and I do see his point on
Oh,
this,
yeah.
because you said 96 per grade, well, obviously there weren't 96 openings, right?
Yes, it
For
were.
sixth grade, yes.
There was 96 openings?
But then that's where the 28 siblings took 28 of those slots, that left the 68.
That's where you did
And that's where I multiplied the 20% on. And in the same way, the 10th grade, there were 2 slots. And so we did one military, one for that, and then we had a lottery out of 28 kids for the one slot. So I mean, if that's going forward, that's fine. I think we
You
can
would have
just
space
fund
to
that.
have those back for the military, and you have.
Yeah, cause we're not over 504.
We may be, actually, if you look at the numbers.
Well, the district said they wouldn't have a problem because, if we went a bit over that and they, we wouldn't want to go back on anyone that's already been told they
Right.
can come here.
Right.
But we can go up some and,
Well,
I
but
talked it over with the assistant superintendent and he thought it was a good idea to,
we can go up,
yeah.
but we also have to understand that right now in 9th grade, there are 78 students. That's too many for a 72 member team. That's 6 additional students. So we're going from 24 students in the classroom to 26 in the classroom, which puts an enormous amount of stress on the classroom. And
Well,
when
we
you
may
should,
not all, maybe you won't even have that many apply. I mean, that's a possibility, isn't
in terms of, I'm sorry.
it?
Military, well, right now, there are 27, there were 27, actually, the increase now is up to 32, I think. 6th grade military families. We presently have 17 of those, have been invited, and of those 17 right now, 15 of them have completed the enrollment. So we'll continue to, and right now we only have 94 6th grade. So we'll continue to be rolling those up to 96. Where we, in the 9th grade, we didn't have any slots, but we did go ahead and enroll a group of students in, including siblings and military students. So there were 2 additional military families that were able to get in off the waiting list as of last week or week before. So, but we have no room in 7th, we have no room in 8th, but we have families that are waiting to get in there, but there's a full house in 7th and 8th right now. And 9th for that matter.
I think you need to look at, this is just a suggestion, look at each grade and look at the numbers of military that you have. And do everything that you can to make sure that you've got 20% of those numbers are filled with military students.
So what you're saying is, you come up at the end of the year, and it's hypothetical, you got a full boat, okay? But you gotta make room for somebody, so you're gonna tell somebody that's already here, they gotta go away, and they can't continue?
No, we just said that, we wouldn't do that.
But,
We're trying to fix this problem, but going forward, we shouldn't
Well,
We
going
shouldn't
forward,
have the
going
problem.
forward,
right,
We gotta find a fix for it now.
You can't just say, oh, well, when the military loses out.
No,
add
you
the
can't do
slots
that.
back
right.
Or something.
Well, and
Exactly.
technically, at the moment, the only grade that we're missing, where there's two students in the sixth grade, that we said we would do 19 if we did 20% of the 96.
Mhm.
And we got 17 at the moment, so
Okay.
we'll just keep an eye out as we have the, people who don't show up, we can fill in with military term, it's not a problem.
What would be helpful for the board is if we had by grade for sixth grades, you had 96 openings. Did you have 19 military apply?
We had 27 o'clock.
So you should have taken 19 military kids.
That's what you're saying, yes.
But-
I
Yeah,
interpreted it to
policy,
take
right.
20%.
Right.
But
Yeah.
our policy we passed, the one that was for
Stacy,
the.
the policy isn't clear, it doesn't
This
say.
is the policy to hold the seats up to 10, our first
But
policy.
we took in 14, so we already met that.
Well,
Yeah, 10 seats per grade would not meet the 20%.
This is the holding policy. Yeah, the initial military set aside was 20% per grade.
Right,
So 96 times 20 was that number. And then if you don't have all of them take their 17 seats, then you hold up to 10 till May 31st. We need to know.
So if you
how
have
many-
15, you hold the 4 until May 31st.
Correct.
right.
Mhm.
You have the siblings on the waiting list.
And if you didn't have them apply, say you only had 12 apply for the 17 spots, you held up the other 5 till 5/31. So we need to know what those numbers that were open, the total gross numbers for each grade, and how many you
So at the
admitted
moment, that's 2 slots,
Yes,
per
because
grade.
we have 17. And per grade, we don't have, that's if we have open slots, we don't have.
It gets tougher per grade because there's a
I mean-
smaller amount of slots.
Right.
16
In the
seats,
law-
sixth grade duty is all open.
In the lottery per grade, how many you had, so.
Okay, so we had 96 spots in 6th grade,
Uh-huh.
and we had 2 spots in 10th grade, but there were no spots in 7th, 8th, and 9th.
None at all, nobody left, you didn't have any.
Right, so all waiting list on all of them.
And then ninth grade, you said 6 the night of the lottery, that changed?
6 for 9th grade?
Yeah, I was at the lottery, and I think you said you had 6 open that night, or you took in 6?
We didn't have any slots, but we took in the 6 siblings on top of them. And then we just recently then took in another 6 that included 2 of the military banks.
Okay, well, there's 2 things that we can do to clarify for going forward. Obviously, you can add those additional military students to rectify this situation. But I talked to the district and I talked to the Alliance about it, and they said, we're in a similar spot because we have 2 different types of lottery pools. Because of our unique situation, the military is saying this, some of the civil rights charter schools they're dealing with a civil rights admission specialty area. They recommend having a board member that oversees the lottery process and certifies it, and that assists. And we clarify and have a more in-depth process policy approved by the board. So going into the next time, you know exactly which ones go into which, and it'll make it a lot easier, so we can have that done before.
Sure.
Because actually, if you think about the legislation too, it says 20%. It doesn't say 20% of each grade, it says 20%. overall. So, you know, there's a number, which is to give you, it says 50%. So the policy would dictate that, but you could even look at it like that, you know? If you didn't, totally 20%.
And I'll send you guys all the military set-aside policy that we passed, and this is the second one we passed to help with the holding.
So the military would have precedence already, but they accept returning students. Is that what I
Yes.
mean?
Well, the way I interpreted it was even them.
Oh, you
Because you
returning students.
take off the math, you do the math first, 20%.
Not returning
No, I think-
students.
Oh,
No,
Civil.
returning
Whoa, no, no,
students.
okay, you meant, I thought
No.
the siblings.
Not civil, no,
No,
just
no,
returning
just-
students.
I was
Yeah.
like, whoa, we don't have anybody.
No.
Yeah,
Returning
my-
students don't go in the
My,
lottery.
yeah, my mistake.
Yeah.
No, not to.
Returning students.
It's just open slots, you do the math
Yeah.
first.
Yeah.
It's really tough, because if you only have
It is.
up to 5 slots, then the military's gonna get one every time. They got 1 slot, they get 2, they get 1. They get 3, they get 1.
Yeah.
All the way to 5.
Right.
Yeah.
They said 6th grade's easy, but after that, 7th, 8th, if we got a lot of returning students, then there's not gonna be a lot of openings.
And we're trying to honor that every time we do the waiting list. We look and find 1 military family for every 5 that we roll up. And so that's working out, or at least did last year. This year, so far, it's worked out, but we haven't rolled anybody in 7th and 8th grade.
It's gonna get tighter each year.
Mhm. Okay, any questions for Dr. Goff on this? Thank you for providing the information.
You're welcome. The last action item, and we got a clarification, Stacy shared a few minutes ago. We can't blanket do the course guide, Charleston, College of Charleston, or, Trident. So we're gonna have to bring to you each time we add, another set of courses. And what, the process is this: whatever is in Power School at the moment, every class has a code, and that's approved by the Department of Education, specifically Darlene provide, and then the district has to approve it. But the district only will approve it if it comes to them as approved by the board. There really is no issue at all, other than just this logistics here. So, we sent these classes to Darlene to get the codes. And so the state has already approved them. And so approving, and you've got a list of them in an email that had each thing, but I've got here, it's Introduction to Arab Islamic World Studies, Introduction to Asian Studies, Poetry, Writing, Elementary German, Principles and Practices of Hospitality Tourism, Intro to International Studies, Elementary Japanese, Language and Cognition, space, I don't know what that is actually, and Intro to Calculus, Elementary Portuguese, and Elementary Russian. And what this will enable us to do is, we got the codes, we can now put these directly in Power School, and we can go ahead and get the students enrolled in these without having to jump through those hoops. The odds are though, because of this, the sheer number of courses that they have, every one of our students will come up with another one, probably by the start of school. So as soon as I can figure out what those are, I'll bring those to you as well.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Just, so help me focus, how did these class titles come up? The students said they wanted it, the teacher said we wanna offer it, or the college
No.
said, here's what we got for you?
This is what the students want to take that's offered. And so they had, actually, all our students have the full slate of College of Charleston classes.
Okay,
And
so they
so-
actually picked, that we want to know these things.
Right.
That's great.
Yeah, we're pretty excited about giving those options. And then Trident has a series of courses as well. But a lot of the Trident courses have already been approved through the state, and so those codes are there. So, but the College of Charleston classes are the ones where we're gonna have to bring.
So we need a motion to approve those then?
Yes.
Okay,
So moved.
Marilyn?
Second.
All in favor, signal saying aye.
Aye.
Okay.
I was concerned that they might select paddleboarding or something.
So far,
Portuguese and,
That's wonderful.
I don't know, somewhere that must be a class, I don't know.
That's wonderful. Paddleboarding is a class at College Girls. It really
Motion to
is.
adjourn
Alright.
meeting.
Yeah, there we go.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you very much.
Stacy, Rob, can I grab my, please? No.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna get, we're gonna see if we need to.
Send us a screen.
I don't know.
Yeah.